ABC 10 News at 6 starts now.
Private schools, they are pushing ahead with plans to bring students back to the classroom. They say that they are prepared, but some parents are concerned about what their plans don't call for. Plus, slashed by thousands of dollars, millions of Americans are suddenly finding themselves closer to the limit. Why banks are cutting credit limits left and right and what you can do about it. And he helped stop Ebola in 2014. Now the same scientist tells 10 News how a similar plan could stop the spread of COVID in just 5 weeks. But we begin with some breaking news on San Diego's progress to move off the state's coronavirus watch list. Within the hour, the county released its latest figures, and we are now green on all 6 of the state metrics. That does clear the way for San Diego to come off the watch list very soon. If we continue to get good numbers for the next 17 days, schools K through 12 would be allowed to reopen. All right, let's give you a look at those latest numbers too, as San Diego's rolling average for positive COVID tests continues its downward trend. Just 3% of all tests reported to the county today, they came back positive, helping our long-term average inch closer to 4%. Among today's positive cases, the county says that 236 more people have tested positive for the virus. That brings our total since the start of the pandemic to nearly 34,000. The county also reported 6 more deaths. That brings that total to 608. Happening right now, an enforcement team with the city of San Diego is out in Ocean Beach, making sure that people are not violating the county's public health order. As you can see, Sky 10 is flying over the area right now. This comes after weeks of large crowds, no masks or any social distancing. Our ABC 10 News reporter Mimi Alcala joins us live on this story. And Mimi, it's still early, but so far the city says people are complying.
Yeah, Steve, they are complying so far, and there's a lot of people out here at Veterans Park already here in Ocean Beach, but residents who live here actually tell me this is a lot less than what they're used to seeing around this time on Wednesday. So the city of San Diego does have a compliance team out and about. They're really focusing on educating people of the public health order and giving masks to those who don't have them.
We're asking people, don't congregate here. Please wear a mask if you're around other people, and please socially distance. And so far, it's looking pretty great.
So Joel Day is the senior advisor for COVID response and recovery with the city of San Diego. He says within the first hour, more than 300 masks were given out to people who didn't have them on. The enforcement team out here consists of 12 people from the city and the county, from code compliance to park rangers and parking enforcement. Now, of course, the enforcement team has been put in place because of the mass gatherings that have been going on here in Ocean Beach after the farmers markets on Wednesday. So a lot of people have been showing up for the drum circle that sets up here every night on Wednesdays. So the city put up a fence around Veterans Park Tuesday morning, but it was immediately torn down, and as of right now, it has not gone back up. Tonight, police will also be out here making sure people aren't being disruptive and are following the public health order. And the city does say that the fine for violating that order is $1,000. So, of course, we're going to keep an eye on everything that's happening out here and keep you updated throughout the night. But for now, we're live in Ocean Beach. Mimi Alcala, 10 News.
It is still early. All right, Mimi, thank you. Turning now to more breaking news. 6,000 acres in 2 hours and growing. We are tracking that fast-moving brush fire. It's now raging in the Angelus National Forest. It started right around 3 o'clock this afternoon, sending massive plumes of smoke into the air. Evacuations are underway right now. That's happened within the last hour. No word on what sparked that fire, though. And here's a closer look at where all of this is unfolding. The fire is burning near Lake Hughes, which is north of Santa Clarita. Of course, we're going to keep watching it and update you as we learn more. Despite the governor's orders, students at a private school in Spring Valley are scheduled to return to class here in just a few weeks. As our ABC 10 News reporter Michael Chin found out, the school is planning a list of precautions, but masks will not be mandatory for those students.
When Heartland Christian Homeschool Center begins its school year September 1st, it will include in-school learning. The plan spelled out on its website. Classified as a private school, the pre-K through 12 school combines homeschooling with several days of in-person instruction every week. The plans come despite the governor's orders banning in-school classes for counties still on the watch list. Right now, San Diego County remains on that list. Principal Linda Hansen told me it's important for kids to be back in class and that her school is following all CDC guidelines. The state is allowing elementary schools to apply for waivers to the COVID rules. Hansen says she'll apply for the waiver, but it likely won't affect her decision to open. The school's COVID section does list its precautions, including stepped-up disinfecting, encouraging social distancing, and masks for staff when close to students. Masks will not be mandatory for students. The mask issue a point of concern for students at a school with similar plans. Last week, ABC 10 News reported on Foothills Christian Middle School in El Cajon. A letter sent to parents spelled out reopening plans in September, including masks being optional. That led to frustration for one parent who didn't want to use her name.
Yeah, this is completely opposite of everything we've been doing, so it's kind of shocking to her. Like, why would I not wear a mask?
The school citing a lack of evidence that masks prevent COVID transmission in children. That mask policy, along with COVID rules at both schools, now set as those schools prepare to open their doors to students in a few weeks. Michael Chen, ABC 10 News.
The school's principal says she consulted an attorney but is hopeful the county will be several weeks removed from the watch list by September. A county spokesperson says they have several tools for private schools out of compliance, including on-site visits, citations, and shutdown orders. Now, during a coronavirus briefing today, Governor Gavin Newsom highlighted the lengths the state has gone to support our local economy. One important part, he said, was by supporting working families.
3.6 million working families have already received $1 billion through our earned income tax program. I don't know another state that is providing more for working families.
Among other points, the governor highlighted the state's move to simplify accounting methods, which he says will reduce tax liability on small businesses. He also applauded the elimination of the $800 minimum franchise tax for all new startups in the state of California. We have a Team 10 consumer alert to bring you now. Millions of people are unknowingly getting their credit card limits slashed during this pandemic. Our investigator Melissa Messiha shows us the problems this can cause and what you can do about it.
Oftentimes we'll see letters in the mail that we throw out thinking it's junk. Erin Johnson almost didn't read this letter, but good thing she did. It informed her credit card limit was being cut from $7,000 to just $3,000.
Effective immediately with no notice, my credit limit was decreased.
The problem, now her card was suddenly maxed out.
A roughly 40% utilization on that card to 100%. There was really no explanation as far as why.
She was furious, sure that her excellent credit score would now take a hit. She wasn't alone. Turns out banks across the country are lowering credit limits to protect themselves during the pandemic in case someone loses their job and can't pay their bills.
I was amazed by how many people were telling my story on their social media just repetitively.
A report by MarketWatch.com says unused credit lines are a major risk to banks during a financial crisis. Many issuers are cutting credit limits to all but their best customers. A Compare Card survey shows about 70 million cardholders had credit limits cut or card accounts closed involuntarily from mid-May to mid-July. Erin says she's been with the same bank 15 years and has never missed a payment.
I've been working on my credit for quite some time.
If this happens to you, appeal the decision. Pay attention to what comes in the mail from your bank or credit card company, and if your limit is lowered, be extra careful about not maxing out your credit. Melissa Messiha, Team 10.
Team 10 is always looking out for you. If you have a story you want our investigators to look into, email team10@10news.com. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris made their first appearance together as running mates today. The joint ticket kicked off its campaign in Biden's hometown of Wilmington, Delaware. Because of the pandemic, there was no large rally. Rather, it was a more intimate affair for Biden, Harris, and their families. Today, Biden explained in part why he chose Harris, while Harris shared a simple message.
One of the reasons I chose Kamala is because we both believe that we can define America simply in one word: possibilities.
As I said, Joe, when you called me, I am incredibly honored by this responsibility, and I'm ready to get to work. I am ready to get to work.
Harris is the first woman of color nominated for vice president by a major party. Yesterday, President Trump called her his, quote, #1 draft pick. Today, he called her nasty. Marines and sailors at MCAS Miramar and said their final goodbyes to those who died off the coast of San Clemente after that training accident last month. The bodies of 8 service members were recovered last week. They disappeared after their amphibious assault vehicle sank during a training mission. Their bodies were then flown to Dover Air Force Base in Delaware, where they will be prepared for burial and given to their families. The cause of the training accident is still under investigation.